who don't know me, I'm Jennifer Brown. I'm a senior here at UCM, an English major and creative writer. Usually I read poetry. Guess what? I ran out of poems. So now I'm going to read you guys a story. And usually my poems are about violence and death and really depressing things that are kind of funny. And I have a story for you that's got sex, death, violence. It's really good.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's not funny. It's kind of messed up, but I think you'll like it. And I think it should fit into the time slot pretty well. It's about 10 pages, so. I was going to say it's M for mature, but you guys all look like you're older than 17, so you should be fine. Okay, the setting is a small town. Just picture a small town, probably one like Warrensburg or wherever you grew up in. It's called the Holy Trinity. 10:03 p.m., Saturday, July 16th. Praise Fellowship, Assembly of God. Her cool, sweet 16 necklace pressed into his sweaty chest. It is not porn, I promise. It's tasteful. He gathered up the energy for one last thrust, and she gasped. The four-bladed ceiling fan whirred out slowly. Rolling off of her, he stretched out on the faded floral couch cushions on his office floor. They lay panning together as mosquitoes spattered against the window. "Not bad, Reverend," the girl murmured breathlessly. Her eyes glazed over as she stared at the fan. With more lucid eyes, he studied the way her strawberry blonde hair fell in a swoop to her tanned shoulders. "Glad to satisfy," he said. Blinking slowly, she watched him watching her and smiled. He cupped her left breast. It was warm and firm in his hand. "It's been too long." "It's been 5 days, Michael," she replied, laughing. "How's summer school going?" he asked. "How's your wife?" she quipped. He withdrew his hand and turned back over. "I'm sorry," she said after a moment. He stared vacantly at the crumbling plaster on the ceiling. "I told you not to bring her up." "Yeah, but you sounded like my dad," she said, wrinkling her nose. The corners of the minister's thin lips twitched upwards. "When we're here, that's all that matters. I get that." She caressed his lean shin with her foot, up and down. He shivered. "You know I care about you, Kelsey." He pulled her down until their lips met. "Thanks for giving me the daycare job here, by the way," she said when they came up for air. "I love you so much." Michael grunted in response and kissed her again. 11:07 p.m., Saturday, July 16th, the minister's house. Michael flicked off his lights and put his dented cavalier in neutral as he coasted into the gravel driveway. He licked his lips, tasting Kelsey's strawberry lip gloss. The porch light on the little farmhouse switched on. Shit. He got out, slamming the door. Loosening his tie and grimacing, he approached the woman waiting on the porch. Wisps of dark hair had escaped from her curlers. She clutched her green bathroom shut with one bony hand and reached out to him with the other. He hugged her, sweat spots darkening his white shirt beneath his arms. She kissed him briefly on the lips. "I stayed up for you," she said, her voice soft. "You didn't have to. You need sleep if you're going to recover," he said, opening the door for her. A mosquito bit him, and he slapped it. A bloody splotch of wings and legs remained on his hand, and he studied it as he kicked off his shoes. "I know, Michael, but it matters to me," she said from the kitchen as she poured him a glass of water. "Did you get your sermon all finished?" She plunked in 3 ice cubes in return with the glass. Her hands shook. "Yep, I'm all good for tomorrow." He reached for the glass, and she gasped. It slipped out of their hands and tumbled to the floor, shattering. The water sank into the worn hardwood. Michael swallowed, his throat painfully dry. "Jesus Christ, Joni, what's wrong now?" He followed her gaze to the bloody mosquito on his hand, the one that had been reaching for the glass. Her eyes glistened with tears, and she knelt unsteadily. "I just got a little nauseous. I'm sorry," she mumbled. Her robe gaped open as she picked up the pieces of glass, revealing a white lace nightgown and even whiter skin. He sighed as he got on his knees beside her, shoving his satchel aside so it wouldn't get wet. She put her arms around him and began sobbing into his shoulder, smearing snot and tears on his shirt. He flinched. I'm sorry, she whispered. "I know. It's okay," he replied, hugging her narrow shoulders. She gnawed her hands up in fists and beat them on his back. They were the glancing blows of a child. He pulled her hands away and peeled her fingers open. Silently, he stared at the bloody fragments of glass. "I'm sorry," she moaned. One of the curlers had come loose from her hair and was hanging limply in front of her wet, ashen face. "I know, me too, honey. It's okay," he said, gently, picking out the shards of glass embedded in her hands. 11:28 a.m., Sunday, July 17th, after church, at the minister's house. "Joni," he called hoarsely, yanking open the screen door. She was sitting at the dining room table. Her worn pink house dress hung from her thin frame. White linen bandages covered both of her hands. Little pinpricks of blood seeped through the cloth. Pausing, she looked up from her stack of papers. "There's no need to shout, Michael. I'm right here. Is something wrong?" "Why didn't you answer your phone?" he asked, tossing his bag on the table and sitting across from her. "I must have left it in the bedroom, and I didn't hear it ring," she replied calmly, looking back down at her papers. "Did the sermon go well? You know I need to be able to reach you. Did you know dying was such a complex business? I have a couple months left, maybe a year, and I haven't given a single thought to settling my affairs." She laughed, a short, painful sound. "Do you think Gina would like my sewing machine?" Michael grabbed the sheet of paper out of her hands, causing it to crumple in the middle. 2 bright red spots flared upon her pale cheeks. "Give it back." "Have you taken your pills?" he asked, smoothing the sheet beside him on the table, out of her reach. "Yes, but you know they make me tired," she murmured. He stomped up and went to their bedroom. The single light bulb above the sink flickered. He shook the bottles one at a time, trying to count how many pills were left in each. "I'm not a child!" she shrieked. He turned around and stared at her as she sagged against the doorframe, breathing raggedly. "Why do you do this to me?" he asked softly, a bottle of pills clutched in each hand. 1:42 p.m., Monday, July 18th, the Praise Fellowship, Assembly of God Church. Michael unlocked the door to his office. He rifled through the neat stack of papers, and then straightened as the skin on the back of his neck tingled. He turned around, reaching for one of the snow globes on his desk. "Hello, Michael," Kelsey murmured from the open door, tilting her head. His eyes roved over her tank top curves. He put the snow globe back down. "Nice balls," she added, smirking. "How's your first day going?" he asked, sweat trickling underneath his collar. "Oh, just great. Those kids are so cute." "Good. Well, I just had to pick up some papers I forgot," he said as he started towards the door. Kelsey didn't move. "I told the kids I was getting a snack," Kelsey said as she grabbed Michael's shirt in her fist and shoved him against the door, grinning wolfishly. 15 minutes later, they pulled themselves up from the couch. "Well, I guess I better check on the kids," Kelsey said, retying her ponytail. Michael groaned and checked his watch. "Yeah, I better get home." He fumbled with his belt while she pulled on her tank top. She grabbed a package of cookies out of his desk. He was just pushing the door to the side of the church open a few minutes later when footsteps pounded towards him. "Thank God you're still here. I need your help. Hurry," Kelsey cried, tugging at his arm. Her face had lightened 2 shades beneath her tan. "What's wrong?" he asked as he broke into a jog. She led him into the sanctuary without responding. "What's going on?" His voice echoed tauntingly in the empty space. Kelsey climbed behind the pulpit and perched on the edge of the baptismal pool. His heart thumped spastically in his ears. Curiously, he peered over the edge of the uncovered pool. A little boy lay at the bottom of the tub beneath 2 feet of water. His face was white and serene as a wax baby Jesus. "Oh my God," Michael said. The boy's Oshkosh-Begosh railroad conductor overalls rippled slightly in the water as Kelsey trailed her hands in the pool. "Stop that," Michael whispered fiercely, snatching at her wrist. She looked at him with startled doe eyes. "He looks so peaceful, doesn't he?" she asked, giggling nervously. Michael looked back into the pool. "You're in shock," he said. The boy's short black hair floated up from his head, and his conductor's cap had drifted around to where Michael was standing. Kelsey got up and began to pace back and forth frantically. Michael gazed into the boy's glassy, dull-like eyes. "What do we do?" she asked, wringing her hands and pacing even faster. She began to cry. Call 911. It's a tragic accident. These things happen, Michael said, holding his head in his hands. 4:29 p.m., Tuesday, July 19th, the minister's house. A dusty police cruiser parked with a screech beside Michael's car. He put a hand above his eyes and squinted into the sun, trying to make out the man approaching. Did you have a nightmare last night? You kept tossing and turning, Joni said, leaning her head against his back. He stiffened. The heat was bothering me. Opening the window didn't help. The man approached the porch steps. You want me to go? Joni asked, squeezing Michael's shoulders lightly with her freshly bandaged hands. No, you can stay, Michael replied, extending his hand to the policeman. Thank you for your time, Reverend, the young man said, giving Michael's hand a hearty shake. Detective Nathan Bennett, at your service. He tipped his cowboy hat to